Okay, so yesterday we talked about domain and range in functions. All right, so we reviewed that, and we did interval notation when we wrote the functions. So today we're going to talk about explicit and implicit equations, and then we're going to identify some functions more. So an explicit equation So each of the three examples we solve for a specific variable. We solve 2 for y and 1 for x. So if I graph this, y equals 2x plus 7, what would that graph? It would graph what? A line, right? It would always graph a line. Is a line a function? Always. So what about this one? What's that going to graph? Y equals x squared. It's going to graph a parabola. Is that a function? Every day. Okay? When is a parabola not a function? When it's this way, right? So that would be when it's y squared. So x equals y squared. That would be the parabola this way, and that's not a function, right? Okay, so an implicit equation is when you don't solve for one variable. So this is when an equation isn't solved for a specific variable. So for instance, x squared plus y squared equals 36. I didn't solve for either one. Both variables are on one side. And this is like one of the only useful things from geometry, I guess, besides the Pythagorean theorem. Does anybody remember what that graphs? Oh my gosh. Not even close. A what? A circle. So x squared plus y squared equals 36. He's smart.
No, hold on. I went to the wrong class. There's no way it's a circle.
Every day.
The 3 points? A squared plus b squared equals c squared?
Has nothing to do with x squared plus y squared equals r squared.
Oh my god. Alright. It's a circle.
And Sunday.
What?
Every day and Sunday. Always a circle. So, is a circle going to be a function? No, it's not, right? Because it fails the vertical line test. Okay, this one, I think, was it you that just told me? This is going to be the parabola that's laying down. So that one is not a function either. And this one, if you look at that one, first of all, the x and y are together. And every time you see the x and y together, it makes a rational function. And the rational function, that's the one where the line gets blown into two parts and we have the two asymptotes, always a function. All right, so here's what I want to do. I want to write each equation explicitly in terms of y. So that's a fancy way of saying solve for y. And then indicate whether the equation is a function or not, okay? Y'all, are any of you, you know in the beginning of the year when the floors are like really waxed like this? Like, I keep, like, almost tripping because, like, my shoe is sticking to the floor. I wonder how long until this is going to go away, because one of these times I'm going to go down. This isn't good. All right. What did you say? Say it out loud. Okay, if I fall, one of you better help me up. Just so we're clear. And it can't be Cabello. Nope, he's not allowed. He would be running up and videoing it, like, and posting it. He would not be helping. Yeah, I'm ending up on some Snapchat story laying on the floor. All right. Okay, I'm going to solve for y. So the first thing I have to do is move the x to the other side. It's a positive x. To move it past the equal sign, we have to do the opposite, so I'm going to subtract the x. I'm multiplying the y times negative 4, so I'm going to divide through by negative 4. And what's a negative divided by negative? It's going to be a positive. So I have this, and this is the same thing. And this is in y equals mx plus b form, which will graph a line each and every time. So is this a function or not a function? Yes, it is a function. Hey, Cabello, x squared plus y squared equals 25. What is that graph? Your light bulb is burnt out. What is this? It is not a triangle. It's still here. X squared plus y squared equals a number. It's a circle every time. Oh my gosh. I'm not talking to you anymore. This is a circle. So right away, most of us, except somehow he's making a triangle out of this. I don't know how he's doing it. But so right away I know this is not a function, right? Because it's a circle. I'd move away from him if I were you. Because that means I'll know your name soon too, and you won't be happy. All right, we're going to solve for y squared. So I'm going to subtract the x squared. So the y is squared. I need to solve for y. What's the reciprocal of squared? The 1/2, which is what? The square root. So we're taking the square root on both sides. And when I do that, I don't know if I want the plus or the minus. So we end up with plus or minus 25 minus x squared. Number 3, I start with the y squared. So I know, is that a function or not a function? So the y squared flips it to the side, so this is not. So if I'm going to solve for y, I'm going to start by adding the x. How do I undo the squared? Square root, bless you. Have I solved for the y yet? No. What do I have to do to get the y by itself? Move the 1, so the 1 is going to become negative. And so it doesn't matter if I move it to the front and the back, but you all have terrible handwriting. If you write it behind, what do I think it is? I think it's underneath the square root sign here. So we're going to put the 1 in front. And we already know it's not a function. Okay, so number 4 we just hate in general because first of all it has a cubed root and you really don't like those so much. And it also has a fraction, like both in one problem. So you don't get to skip that. I want to solve for y. To get the y by itself, I have to move the x. It's a positive 1/2. So to move it past the equal sign, what do? Subtract it. So I have negative cube of y equals 7 minus 1/2 x. Now I have to get rid of the negative sign. I'm multiplying, so how do I get rid of the negative? Divide. So I'm going to divide through by negative 1, and what does that do? It just changes the signs, right? So now what's the reciprocal of a cube root? Cube, right? We're going to cube both sides. So I end up with y equals 1/2 x minus 7 cubed. So the parent function is x to the third. X to the third graphs like this. So is that a function or not a function? It is a function. So if I look at that, what's the minus 7? Which way does that shift that function? Shifts it right 7. And the 1/2, we would have to divide out the 1/2 from in front of the x. And that ends up being our b value. And when I divide out the 1/2, it would be a horizontal stretch then. Okay? All right. Everybody try number 5. So if you solve for y, the first thing you do is subtract the x. And then I'm going to divide by negative 1. I'm going to square both sides. And then I'm going to subtract the 1. Okay, so a couple things. Does it matter if I write it this way or this way? Doesn't matter. Why would I write it like this instead? Because this is what the transformations look like, right? So x minus 8 ends up being a shift to the right, and the minus 1 shifts the parabola down 1. All right, give me a thumbs up if you got it right. So what's different with number 6? The x and the y are together. So which one am I solving for? What variable? Y. So we have to get the y by itself. So the first thing we're going to do is move the 1 to the other side. So when I do that, the minus 1 becomes positive 1. Now once I do that, when I look on the left-hand side, I have xy minus 5y. What do they have in common? All right, so I'm going to take a y. So I have y times x minus 5. What's the opposite of times? So I'm going to divide both sides by x minus 5. So I get 2x plus 1 over x minus 5. And by definition, that is a rational function. Anything divided by another, an equation divided by an equation, it makes it a rational function. So this is a function. Okay, so this is probably the only one that you would have had a hard time recognizing. Because you're all smart and you all got the rest of them. All right, any questions so far? No? Okay. You do? Who said I do? Yes. Yeah, well, you were in the counseling office, so watch my video. Listen to my whiny voice all over again. Okay, here's my equation. Y equals 3x squared minus 5. This graph's a what? The parabola. So that one is an x cubed. The parabola, x squared makes the parabola. That's okay. Like, we're reviewing all this, right? It's okay. We're all okay. Everybody's okay. You learned all this last year.
Oh, this is last.
This isn't even, I haven't even taught you anything yet.
That's why. Oh, man. I thought we were learning about shapes.
Okay, so this is a parabola. So the 3 is our a value, which makes this a stretch. And the minus 5, what did it do to the parabola? Moved it down 5, right? So it just takes the stretched out, skinny parabola and moved it down 5. So we can write our equations in function notation, and f of x and y are exactly the same thing. They're the exact same thing. It's a fancy way of writing, if I have this equation right here, if I want f of negative 5 is my x value. And I'm going to plug it back into the equation, and whatever answer I get, that is your y value. So if I take f of negative 5, I just take the negative 5 and put it in for x. So negative 5 squared gives you 25. Negative 6 times negative 5 gives you 30 plus 23. So I get 78. So f of negative 5 equals 78. That tells me that the point negative 5, 78 is on that function. So if I put 9 in the next one, nine squared is 81, so 7 minus 9 gives me negative 74. Any questions? Okay, do number 9. What?
Solve it for variable, or is it like I'm not sure where.
So whatever they give you, this is your x value. So I'm putting it in the function for x.
Oh, so plug these in.
Yeah. Yeah. Correct. That is correct. What'd you get?
Oh, you're checking them?
Yeah. What'd you get? Correct. Yes. So what was on top? And then, so it's a fraction and reduce it. But yes, you're good. What'd you get? Yes. Nope. So 4 squared is 16 times 2 is 32. Yeah, that's why we're doing that problem. What did you get on bottom? What was your answer? 67? Okay. So, listen. The correct answer is 1/7. If you got 67, if you have 67 on bottom, it's because you took 2 times 4 and then squared it, which is a common mistake, and that's why we work this problem. You have to take the 4 squared and then multiply by 2. Okay? You get it or you didn't? Okay. You're all okay back here? All right.
Hey, I got it right.
You did? Good job. Okay, everybody look at 13. Oh, no, 12. Okay. Once I put the negative 10 in, what's half of negative 10? Negative 5 minus 14. So negative 5 minus 14 gives me a negative 19. What does the absolute value do to the negative? Makes it positive, so my answer is 19. On this one, what do I do first here? The exponent, right? Because you're going to get it wrong if you take 5 times negative 3 and then raise it to the 4th power, friends. Negative 3 to the 4th power. So negative 3 times negative 3 is 9. 9 times 9 is 81. 81 times 5 is 405. Okay, just a couple more. Don't start sighing. It is way too early in the year to even sigh when I say a couple more. Yeah, suck it up. All right, I want to do it with the variable. So when I do with the variable, this is going in for my x. This is my x. So I'm going to do 3y squared cubed plus 3y squared squared. Wherever I see an x, I take that and I plop it down. When I raise to a power, I'm going to multiply. So what's the exponent on 3? On 3? It's 1, right? So 1 times 3 gives me 3 to the third power, y to the sixth, plus 3 to the second power, y to the fourth. 3 to the third power is not 9. It is 3 times 3 times 3, 27. So let's do number 16. I want f of negative 5c, or g of negative 5c. Now what do I do? All right, so if I multiply, am I done? Cancel the what? No. You cannot cancel the c's. Divide out the whole number. So what do you want to take out? 5. So what happens if I take out a negative 5? Is there a difference? It'll just flip the signs, right? So, okay. Do you guys have a question? I know, you got to wait till I'm done, okay? That's why when you're talking, it makes me think you're not ready. And so there's just too many of you. It's making me nervous. All right. So does it matter if I take out the 5 or the negative 5? It doesn't. So if I take out negative 5 on top, and if I take out a negative 5 on bottom, they cancel, and I'm left with 3c plus 2 over c minus 1. Okay, so the last 4, these are pretty easy. But would you draw on your axis for me so you can see, because it'll help you. So draw on this axis and this axis. I want to know f of 1. 1 is my x value. 1 is the x value. So on the x-axis, I'm going to go to 1. And then I want to find out where 1 touches the graph, which is down here. What, is it negative 9? Somebody count? Yeah? Okay. So this is my y value. This is my x value. This is my y value. So if I do f of 5, we don't want to go down, right? There's no graph below. But if we go up, it hits at 6. F of negative 2. If I do negative 2, what's my y value? 0. F of 0, negative 8, and that's our y-intercept, right?